Welcome back to another episode of Sal and Pal's Go to the Movies. I'm Sal here with my friend Touly. Say hi, Touly.
Hello, everyone.
So in this episode, we're going to review Independence Day. But just a fair warning, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. The aliens are coming, and their goal is to invade and destroy Earth, fighting superior technology. Man's best weapon is the will to survive. So in this movie, the people who stood out were Will Smith, Jeff Goldblum, Bill Pullman, a few other actors here that just basically made the movie for me. So I'm going to pass it to you, Touly.
So Independence Day, I remember watching this as a kid, and I would say like as a kid, it was one of the most amazing films I had seen at the time. But as an adult, you know, when I go back and watch this movie, I do see how like a lot of like cheesy stuff that I didn't, of course, recognize as a kid. And like my perspective on the film has changed since then. I don't look at it as highly as I did, you know, when I watched that for the first time as a kid. But I still think it's an okay film. I mean, particularly, you know, for a film that came out in 1996. I know like a lot of like advertising went out to try to make this movie like a really big blockbuster. And I think the film actually grossed a ton of money too that year. I don't remember exactly how much, but I think it was like pretty high.
Yeah.
Like you said, a lot of big names in this film. I think for me, what kind of sold me initially was just knowing that Will Smith was going to be in this film, because I grew up watching like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Same here.
So I was a big Will Smith fan as a kid. So just to see him in a movie role, you know, it was a nice pace of change. Overall, you know, having rewatched this film again, like I said, a lot of cheesy stuff. Things like, even for the president, you know, if you think about it, for the president to be in the midst of the dog fight, you know, up in the sky, you know, it's a little ludicrous in my opinion. But I guess it speaks to the film in a way too, given the actors and the actresses that are in this film, particularly on the male side, because a lot of them are like comedians. So I could see kind of where like this like amusing type of style was played into the film. But overall, I think it's an okay film.
I agree with your point. I mean, it's that little far-fetched thing is like, yeah, Mr. President, you can't fly. Like, oh, I did have, you know, experience. And yeah, it's like that little thing like, you have other guys who are qualified, who are behind you to fly, but yet you're going to go ahead? No, yeah, so I understand your point of view. I mean, it's the same thing, the perspective you said. I watched it when I was a kid. It was the best movie that at the time, especially because of the special effects of the aliens and everything. And now it's like when you look back at it, it doesn't really quite hold up. You know, you see all the defects and the little like cheesy dialogue and stuff. But in a sense, I don't know if you agree with me, but this version of Independence Day is better than the recent one, the second part.
Yeah, like I haven't seen, what's it called, Independence Day Resurgence. I haven't seen it. To me, when I first found out about that sequel, my first reaction was, I don't think this was a film that needed a sequel anyway. So yeah, that was my reaction to it.
And believe you me, the story is not that great. On top of that, they try to put a comic book before it, like to bridge the first movie and the second movie. So that didn't help much because the drawing in the comic were really bad. So let's continue talking about this movie. Let's think about good things. You said you saw this as a kid. What scenes stood out then versus what scenes stand out now for you?
Let's see, as a kid, I mean, I suppose like all the dog fights and stuff in the sky, that was pretty amazing. I think this was like one of the few films that I saw as a kid where I actually saw, you know, planes just fighting up there. I mean, of course, this is between aliens and mankind, but just to see like dog fights, I think that was one of the things that stood out to me as a kid. Again, being a fan of Will Smith and that line that he said to the alien when they crashed, you know, he was like, "Welcome to Earth." I usually say that a lot, like to people who saw this film. Like whenever we talked about it, that's the line I always say. And it was like one of those mutual understanding. Like if somebody said that, it's like, yeah, we're on the same page. Yeah. So, but then now that I think about it, though, it's kind of like Will Smith's character punched the alien or whatever, and the alien just got knocked out. I was like, that. I don't think an alien would react that way to just a single punch. So that's the me now, if I were to evaluate that scene. And I guess, I mean, they tried to make the aliens technology very, very advanced, but at the same time, it didn't seem that advanced at all. If Jeff Goldblum's character came up with was actually a way to, you know, to get past it. When I think aliens technology, I think, okay, they should be way superior. Like, it would not take them such a little time or effort just to come up with something that could potentially work. It's like, I feel like this might be something where the aliens should have taken over like the planet or whatever, and then as time has progressed, then here comes, maybe this is where the sequel comes in, the resurgence of humankind, and they have come up with a strategy to fight back against these aliens and their technology. But for it to, you know, transpire over, like, was it like a 2 or 3 day time span? Again, as a kid, I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
But now that I think back about it, it's like, I'm not so sure if that's believable. Granted, we're talking about aliens and stuff, but that's kind of how I feel.
The thing is that their McAfee antivirus, you know, gave out. They had the trial version, so that gave Jeff an opportunity to upload the virus. Come on, it makes sense.
Or maybe he just, this film came after Jurassic Park,
yes.
Right? So maybe he just used he used his experience from Jurassic Park, dinosaurs, and somehow related to aliens, and maybe that's how he was able to solve the problem so easily. I don't know. But it's a lot of like just absurdity stuff that as a kid I overlooked because I was too in awe with what was being shown to me. But as a person who is more about just trying to enjoy movies still, but critiquing what I see as well, you know, I have to be honest, and, you know,
yeah,
I see the film a little differently now.
Exactly. The same thing with me. I mean, like, this is still a movie that I would just put in if, like, I'm hanging out with my friends, you know, catering like a little party, but people want to see a movie. Like, you can put it in, people can watch bits and parts of it, still enjoy it, but like you said, like, not tune into it, just like have it as a background music and kind of still enjoy it. There's some scenes that, like, to me still stand out. Like you said, when Will Smith punches the alien and he's dragging the body through the desert, and he says, like, he's talking to the dead alien behind him in the parachute. You know, he's complaining, and then he stops. He's like, "And what the hell is that smell?" And he goes back and starts kicking it. You know, it's like, okay, this is kind of like, I enjoyed that scene. I don't understand why, but it just still stands out to me. Recently, I saw some trivia facts or behind the scenes, and it says that where they recorded it was in Utah, and it's like the salt plains. There, when there's water, it's like it's a lake, but there's brine shrimp, and then when they die, they float to the bottom and get stuck in the mud. If there's a wind and it blows, that decaying smell actually blows into your nose, and it's a foul odor. No one told Will Smith, and that line was not written into the script. So I think that's why it stands out to me in a sense. And I didn't even know that it was an ad lib. He's talking to the alien, having this conversation with it, like, I'm dragging your ass in the desert, blah, blah, blah. And then he's complaining. And to me, it just seems like something hysterical. Like, he knows that no one's watching or listening. Why is he talking to himself? It's a scene that still holds up to me. Stuff that doesn't work on these days, the way they defeated them. The virus, you know, they uploaded. Like, how did they know they needed to go up to the spaceship? How do they know they can connect to that server? Is alien technology, even though they have it, you need to build something that's compatible between our software and their software so you can bridge it, you know? To me, that's another thing that, like, they probably overlooked. And like you said, when I was a kid, I just said, oh my God, this is amazing. Look, they're going into the spaceship. You know, it's little things you overlook when you're like a kid, but now when you look at it as an adult and you critique movies, it's like, okay, this was bad. How did I overlook this? But the one that really stood out to me was the speech the president gave before the actual fight. That was actually one of the best speeches a president in movies has said. I think I can clearly say that it still holds up to this day. That little speech, I don't know how you see that speech.
Yeah, one of those speech that you give to your fellow soldiers before you go out to battle. I think for its time, like, I think it was good. I wouldn't say like it was a very memorable one, but it wasn't bad. Like, for example, compared to like in Braveheart, for example, right? The one where Mel Gibson's character, the speech he gave, that's like on I place that speech like on a pedestal, or speeches like that on a pedestal. This one, I thought it was okay. Like, I didn't think it was like great, but I think it was like, it did its job.
No, yeah, that's why I said this is one of the speeches delivered by an actor playing a president in movies. It's one of the top speeches. Other speeches are great from other characters and stuff, but I'm just talking about if you're playing a president, this is one of the ones that are like it's more decent like that. Versus Air Force One, where the guy basically he just says "Get off my plane." You know, Harrison Ford is like and kicks the guy off. I mean, it's like little things like that that stand out. But this one's an actual speech that rallies the troops, like you said. It's almost like a morale boost for their troops. And also, one of the lines that Jeff Goldblum tells Will Smith, I think, when they're running away from the aliens, you know, they deliver the virus and they're like leaving and the door is closing. He says, "Gotta go faster, gotta go faster." That's the same line he delivered in Jurassic Park with the same intensity. So to me now, when I look back at it, I'm like, wait, he's kind of referencing his old movie from Jurassic Park. I'm like, did he do that on purpose or not? I'm like, so it kind of stands out now for me. So, Touly, what else cheesy things stood out for you?
Things like Will Smith being able to pilot that alien aircraft. I mean, they made it seem like he didn't know what he was doing right from the start, but they were making it a joke by him just flipping the notes right side up. I was like, okay, I guess that did the trick.
It's just like a D-pad controller.
Yeah, exactly. I actually like the father whose kids didn't respect him. Who actually made who sacrificed himself at the end. I think he's like probably my favorite character if I were to be honest from my perspective today compared to as a kid, because it holds more meaning because he's sacrificing himself not just for his country but to make sure that his kids were going to be fine and that his kids saw him as a respectable father. So yeah, his sacrifice came as a more, it held more meaning to me. Like but then still, like when they were up there duking it out with the aliens on their aircraft and then the missile wasn't launching, I was like, okay, so I get that they did that to allow a situation like that to occur so he could sacrifice himself. I guess that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of like, really, you're gonna make this happen?
It's like a cliche.
Yeah, it's like I would have just been okay with them not having any missiles left at all, and then him just decided to do this on his own. That to me would still hold the same meaning, but they decided to go with, oh, the missile's not going to launch, so there you go, there you have it.
Yeah.
So I thought, yeah, that was that to me is a little absurd. But I guess the most absurd thing, and it's just I guess people being dumb, was when part of the country they were like, oh, we're gonna go and welcome these aliens to the planet, and they're out there partying and stuff. And then you see some of the ships they open up, and at that point, if I were there, it's like, I'm getting the heck out of here. I'm not staying behind. But you see all these people just watching it, and then of course it shoots down like a laser or whatever and destroys that portion of the city and kills all the people who got in the way. And I'm like, are people just dumb or something? Like,
yeah,
really?
Well, I mean, it's actually, to me, it plays truth into like society. You always have those few that are always the people who have the different opinions. They're like, oh, look, this is going to happen. The people with the weird theories, like who believe in conspiracies and stuff. Like one of them says Elvis is alive or something, or like E.T. welcome home. And I'm like, this is kind of like saying like all those people who are out there who have these theories that really don't make sense, and sometimes they're so far-fetched they don't even have evidence to support them. Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, these people are gonna die. Like even before I knew it was gonna open up and destroy them, they're like gone already. I don't even believe they're gonna be alive. But let me touch upon what you said about the dad. The character's name is Russell, and his son Miguel. The little cheesy line where he's like going up and he's like, hey, tell my son Miguel that his father loves him. That was like, I guess that's their little thing of like, he's sacrificing himself for the better good, and his son who didn't respect him is now going to respect him. Nowadays, when I look at it, I'm like, that's a total cliche in movies. Like, you don't respect your elder or father or mother or whatever, but then they sacrifice themselves and then you feel bad and you're like, I honor them now, kind of thing. It's like, it's been done, it's been said, like, let's move on and don't use that ever again. But just letting you know that this actor, Randy Quaid, his persona in the movie is the crazy guy, but in real life now, he's actually lost it, and he's out there claiming that the American government stole his money or something, or they're out to get him. He's in Canada in jail or suing somebody. He's one of these people who went from being in movies to just total crazy lunatic out there. So in a sense, his character in the movie took over his real life.
It's the aliens' fault. They did something to him.
When they probed him.
What was that, 10 years ago? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well, with that said, now we're going to give you our grade of the movie. So, Touly, let us know your 2 grades when you were a kid and now as an adult.
Well, to me, as a kid, anything that I liked was like A material. So I would have probably been like 8.5 at least, maybe a 9. But now I'll probably give it like around like a 6.0, somewhere around that range.
Okay, well, with me, like, okay, when I was a kid, I went to go see it, and anything that, you know, we saw with CG that looked really real to me was a high-ranking movie. I would give it an 8.5 to 9, like you said, out of 10. But versus now, I wouldn't go as low as a 6. I would probably give it a solid 7. I mean, in this, a solid 7 for me means that you can still watch it and bear it. You know, you can still sort of enjoy it if you have friends around, but just don't watch it by yourself. Like, this is not a movie that you can enjoy by yourself anymore. This is a movie you watch to actually make fun of the cheesy dialogue or the cheesy lines. That's how I look at it. So in that way, a 7 stands out as a pop it in, make fun with your friends while drinking a beer and eating chips or something. This wraps up the review for Independence Day. Catch us next time when we're going to review Rounders. Remember, social media is in the description, and hit us up if you have any questions. And remember, keep watching movies.